My name is David Collier, and I'm speaking to you from the BBC. As a proudly Jewish and Zionist journalist, this will likely be the closest I'll ever get to appearing on the BBC, so I better make this count. The BBC is a national institution and one that millions of Brits have grown up with and relied on to give us the facts. It is the benchmark for journalism, or at least it used to be. Earlier this year, the BBC aired Hamas propaganda, thinly veiled as a documentary on Gaza. 4 days later, they took it down, only after I uncovered the fact that the narrator of the documentary was actually the son of a Hamas official. It was later revealed that license fee money went to the family of that Hamas official. Yeah, you heard me right. Money from the British public went to the family of a terrorist courtesy of the BBC. Let's be clear. They didn't take the film down because it was Hamas propaganda. The only reason the BBC took it down was because they got caught, and for once they had no excuses to hide behind. I do not work in a large department. I have no staff or fact checkers to call upon. I sit in a small room, working alone and investigating the bias in media output with nothing but motivation and a keyboard. And it took me just a few hours to work out that the BBC had used the family of a Hamas official as a star of its show. If I found it so quickly, it means the BBC never even bothered to look. Through gritted teeth, the BBC announced an internal review.
This was a serious failing, but we have trust numbers that we're very proud of. We're the most trusted brand in the world.
Months later, it released its pitiful findings, which yielded no new insight and read as an exoneration of the BBC. Ofcom have now stepped in to announce an external investigation. This is something that I, Campaign Against Antisemitism, and others called for from the very start. And that's just one incident. Gary Lineker, who was the highest paid presenter at the BBC for years, repeatedly aligned himself knowingly or recklessly with individuals and content that promote anti-Semitic narratives or trivialize violence against Jews.
He was the son of a Hamas official. Isn't that a problem?
I don't think so, no.
The BBC, which claims to value impartiality and integrity, repeatedly shielded him from consequences. The final straw came when he shared a social media post which used a dehumanizing rat cartoon in relation to Zionists. Jews were frequently depicted as rats by the Nazis. He eventually offered an apology, but for once the outrage was too much and the whistle was finally blown on his career at the BBC.
Time to say goodbye.
Then there was Glastonbury, when the BBC broadcast in full a musician chanting death to the IDF and from the river to the sea, and rants about his former Zionist boss in front of thousands.
Death, death to the IDF! Death, death to the IDF! Death, death to the IDF! From the river to the sea, Palestine must be, will be, inshallah, it will be free.
Senior BBC staff were on the ground at the time and could have taken immediate action, but didn't. Another outrage. And we haven't even touched on journalists like Jeremy Bowen, Orla Gurin and others, or BBC Arabic, which was forced to issue an on-air apology after one of its presenters claimed there was no evidence of Hamas terrorists burning families during its barbaric 7th of October attack. That's just one of countless examples from that department. Over and over, the BBC is finding itself at the centre of anti-Semitism scandals, and its reporting on Israel, the world's only Jewish state, is viewed by many as being not merely inaccurate and biased, but harmful. Polling shows the overwhelming majority of British Jews, a staggering 92% of us, believe media bias against Israel fuels anti-Semitism and look on the BBC's coverage disfavourably. Can you blame us? Britain deserves better than what the BBC is delivering. It's time to let it know. I encourage you to join Britain's march against anti-Semitism on Sunday the 7th of September to say no to anti-Semitism and extremism. Sign up now at antisemitism.org/march.